In a strange twist of fate, the police rushed right past their suspect on their way into a horrific murder scene. Not only that, but the suspect was also caught on camera by a TV crew outside the home moments after they had just committed an atrocious act. And despite all of this evidence, they shockingly still attempted to act as though they were innocent.
Hello?
911.
Somebody got in the house and attacked me and my husband, and I'm all bloody, and I'm an old woman.
It's crazy. I drink. This is crazy, man. I don't know what happened. It was a fight, a killing, a robbery. See, I'm not even a wicked person. I won't do nothing crazy or savage,
Crazy and savage barely even begin to describe the absolutely horrific nature of the attack that occurred on that summer night of 2014.
They beat these people in the head, and they're like 100 years old.
Somebody come. I need help.
Okay, they're on their way there now, okay?
And I'm on the floor, and my husband's been hit in the head, and I've been beat on the head.
Don't hang up, okay? Don't hang up, Harriet.
My head hurts. I'm laying in the hallway.
The only element more shocking than the identities of the victims would be the revelation of the weapon used to inflict each devastating blow. Only an incredibly deranged individual would transform such a normal, everyday item into a murder weapon. Almost an entire century earlier, in 1916, Rupert Andy Anderson was born in Kearney, Iowa. He married Harriet in 1937, then joined the Navy several years later in the heart of World War II. The two started a family and a successful business. In 1950, Vista Kennels was established in Des Moines, Iowa, on the very property of the home they purchased in 1947. It was Andy himself who constructed the kennel, using repurposed World War II wooden ammunition boxes. Andy spent his career at Anderson Erickson Dairy as office manager until his retirement. All the while, Harriet handled the kennel business until the Andersons decided the time had come to take a step back and enjoy a peaceful retirement together. But tragically, that wouldn't be the case. In addition to the fact that the couple had no known enemies whatsoever, a motive behind the attack was nowhere to be found. The community and law enforcement alike were completely baffled. It was approximately 7:44 p.m. on July 2nd when the 911 call came in, and it was anything but routine.
Can you tell me what they looked like?
What?
Did they have a gun?
No, I don't know. He had something hard. Piece of metal.
He was armed with... Okay, what did he look like?
He kept beating me on the head. And my head hurt.
Was he white?
What?
Was he white? White or black?
He was black.
What color was his outfit?
I think it was black and white. I think it was white. I can't remember because he kept hitting me on the head.
From what the dispatcher was able to gather, Harriet and her husband's home had been invaded, and they'd both been viciously attacked. It would later be determined that Harriet had answered a knock at the door, and immediately, the encounter took a violent turn. A man barged into the Anderson home. He struck Harriet on the head repeatedly with what was believed to be a metal bar. A lens from Harriet's glasses lay in the entryway, and a hearing aid battery was also reported to have been found nearby. It seems that after 94-year-old Harriet had been knocked to the ground, the perpetrator made his way to 97-year-old Andy, where he sat defenseless in his recliner. Andy was brutally beaten over the head, just as Harriet had been. The blood from both victims told a story of unthinkable horror, each strike to the head having created its own pattern of splatter on the walls and carpet. Amazingly, Harriet was able to muster the strength to crawl to a nearby phone, and she had the wherewithal to place the desperate call for help. Approximately 7 minutes after Harriet managed to make the 911 call, the first members of law enforcement arrived at the scene. This particular evening was unique, as the TV show Cops happened to have a camera crew riding along with a patrol officer. In fact, we'll hear from the crew shortly, and as you'll see, they'll have some groundbreaking information to share. A dash cam from the 2nd Patrol vehicle to approach the home captured the initial activity at the scene. A young man was curiously stationed at the front door of the Anderson home. In the midst of the chaos, officers and the camera crew brushed past the stranger, bizarrely not stopping to ask for his identity despite the fact that he was standing at the front door of the home where an attack had just taken place. Entering the residence, officers happened upon the absolutely barbaric, crimson surroundings. It was clear that the assailant didn't intend for either victim to survive the ruthless attack. In Harriet's desperate 911 call, she was able to provide a brief description of the assailant.
Was he by himself?
Yeah, as far as I know, he was in the house by himself.
Okay, and he assaulted your husband too?
A young, thin man, and he was black.
Soon after entry was made, officers recalled the description Harriet gave of the suspect, and it was quickly determined that the man who was at the front door, the same man that the officers had simply walked right past, could be a possible match to the description. However, when an officer returned to the entryway, the mysterious man had vanished without so much as a trace, or so they thought. Harriet and Andy were transported to Mercy Medical Center. Sadly, Andy had succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced dead at the hospital. And with that, the investigation into a brutal home invasion morphed into one that centered around homicide. It was a miracle that Harriet survived to tell of the vicious attack, considering the seriousness of wounds she'd sustained. The visible injuries to her head were gut-wrenching, but what could not be seen by the naked eye was much worse. During the course of the beating she'd endured, she had suffered a fracture to her skull. As you'll see, the identification of the weapon couldn't be more shocking. Emergency medical staff managed to stabilize Harriet, and her condition was soon categorized as fair. Back at the crime scene, a potential suspect was located and apprehended nearby. He was handcuffed and placed in the front of a patrol car.
Have a seat. So what's going on?
Nothing.
You got any warrants?
No.
Did he say what he was doing? Did he say he was walking?
Just said he was walking. He came from the apartments. What happened over there?
Home invasion, right? 98-year-old couple. Busting him with a metal bar.
But officers are skeptical that the man before them is the perpetrator they are desperately looking for.
That's awesome.
6'2", 150.
6'2". Yeah, that's not good. I'm 6 foot, and I was taking because you can see me run right by him.
You know, that he may have continued into Altoona if that was the right track. He may have been ahead of this guy.
You know what's funny is I initially came over here and we were thinking he wouldn't have made it this far already.
Soon, a detective arrives and speaks with the individual who's been detained. He quickly confirms that this man does not match the description of the suspect. The young man's handcuffs are removed shortly thereafter, and he's given a ride to a local restaurant. With that, law enforcement members are back at square one. However, they won't remain in this position for long. The cops' camera crew had also made it to the site where the potential suspect had been detained. In addition to having captured the critically injured victims and the crime scene, they first caught something else that would prove crucial to the investigation. They had footage that clearly showed an image of the man standing at the front door of the Anderson home following the attack. The detective and officers took photos of paused video footage using their cell phones, and with the help of locals within a small radius of the victim's home, the man was identified, and officers were quickly directed to a nearby townhome. It was the residence of Nyanyul Padit, her boyfriend Janab Reith, and their 6 children. It just so happened that Nyanyul's eldest child matched the suspect's description. But upon arrival of law enforcement, the young man was found tucked in his bed, seemingly asleep. He was quite confused as to why officers were in his bedroom. Even so, the young man, identified as Ngor Makuey, was detained, placed in handcuffs, and transported to the Des Moines police station for questioning. His mother and her boyfriend followed. Shortly thereafter, detectives began interviews, along with the arduous task of piecing everything together. The following never-before-seen footage has been analyzed by a qualified team, including a licensed attorney, a licensed clinical psychologist, a former licensed professional counselor, and a licensed professional counselor. They started with the cops crew, 2 witnesses who were among the earliest to arrive at the grisly scene, and both members of the crew had taken note of Ngor upon arrival.
Jesse Reisdorf.
For the record, you work for Couch Production?
Yes.
You were the cameraman tonight?
Yes, we got out of the vehicle. While we were walking up to the house, there was a younger black male standing in front of the door. Yeah, medical showed up. We went outside. Black male was gone.
Despite the fact that Jesse was focused on capturing video footage of the scene, he was able to give a detailed description of the suspect.
Could you describe him to me? Height, stature, age?
He's probably about 5'8", I'd say probably about 140, 150 pounds.
Okay.
Under 20. And he had on a gray hooded sweatshirt and what I thought were black or gray basketball shorts with a black stripe. And yeah, that was about it. He had his hood up.
The crew also made their way to the townhome where Ngor was detained.
And have you had an opportunity to see the possible suspect that we brought in here tonight? Did you make any observations about if he was the same person you saw at the scene? Could you tell that or not?
Not positively.
Okay.
But it seemed to me that it was, but not positively.
Okay.
At the conclusion of Jesse's brief interview, he reiterated that the man he observed at the townhome was very likely the same man he'd witnessed at the Anderson residence. Jesse's counterpart and audio specialist sat for a brief interview that night as well. And as you'll see, he was more certain of what he'd seen earlier that night.
What's your name again, sir? Carlos Dominich.
Can you just run through what you observed or what you remember hearing about it?
As we were walking in, there was the gentleman was standing by the door. Gentleman said something about he was there cleaning. We thought it was
You said he was there cleaning, something about that?
Something to that effect. I also remember him having the puffy cheeks.
Puffy cheeks.
Then Carlos sums everything up based on his account.
I'm just glad they got him, and it is the guy. I mean, from what I saw, it is the guy. You guys got the right guy.
Did you see him bring that in here?
Yes.
Okay.
No mistaking it. The footage that the crew had captured would prove to be invaluable to the investigation. Detectives decide to speak next with Ngor's mother and her boyfriend. While all of the interviews are taking place, Ngor has been left on his own in an interrogation room, but that doesn't mean he hasn't already started talking. In about 3 seconds, you'll see some of his bizarre one-sided monologue.
This world is crazy, man. This world is truly crazy. The truth won't prevail. The truth won't reveal itself, so this is crazy. Like, no, literally, this is crazy. I'll never do nothing evil. That's not me. I know myself, man. I understand myself, like, pretty well. I know what I would do and what I wouldn't do.
Sometimes when people have these sorts of rambling conversations with themselves, it could be an indication of psychosis. However, we can't make any conclusions about Ngor's mental health just yet. There are other factors that must be present in order to consider that a person may be struggling with psychosis. For instance, when a person is actively psychotic, there are often impairments in their ability to communicate with others, such as answering questions in an interrogation setting. They may speak fluently, but their ability to understand and process information and remain on topic are typically impaired when there is active psychosis, among other observable issues and deficits. It could also be that Ngor is prepping his alibi and explanations. This sort of dress rehearsal is common among criminal suspects. These statements can likely be shown in court, even if he hasn't been Mirandized. While the suspect is in custody, no one has asked him questions to this point. Strange, to say the least, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. The detectives start the interviews with Ngor's parents by gathering some background information.
Is this your son that brought into this too?
That's my stepson.
Your stepson, okay. It's her son, okay. What's his name?
Ngor, Ngor.
His birthday?
Yes, it's May 25th, 95.
They run through a brief description of the day, and both Nyaniel and Janub explain that they went to work at their shared place of employment, the Altoona Inn. They worked their 7:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. shift, ran a couple errands, then returned home. Soon after, they headed to a local grocery store called Hy-Vee.
And was Ngor with you?
Yeah.
After Hy-Vee, where'd you go?
I came back home.
Back home with the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
What time was that? Could you tell me?
It was 3 when I come back, 3:45.
Okay.
Then Niannual tells of something unusual that occurred that evening.
When I came from work,
Yes.
I had some beer.
Some beer?
Yeah, and some liquor.
Yeah.
They call Captain Morgan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did put them in a table because I need to put food in the fridge. My son came behind me. I didn't see him. He take the cup and take the Martin,
Captain Morgan?
Yeah.
The rum? Yeah.
He go to the bathroom, he locked the door. So after I put the food in the fridge, I tried to look in the table. I see the drink went back down.
The liquid you can see that somebody had.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did hug my daughter. Who did this?
The 13-year-old?
Yeah, the 13 years old. He told me it's your son.
Ngor?
No.
Yeah.
I told her where she at. It's in the bathroom. I say, Ngor, what are you doing in the bathroom? No, Mom, I'm using the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
I say, no, you're not. Open the bathroom. No, I'm using it. I say, okay. I sit down by the door to make sure what he's doing in the bathroom.
Okay.
So when he came out, I see him in a cup, holding the cup. So I told him, so you drink a liquor. He told me, you never read anyway. You need to read first. This one is not a liquor. I say, yes, it's a liquor. I know I drink, but this is crazy, man. Why you drinking?
Uh-huh.
So over there, he told me, okay, Mom, stop. I'm going out to walk. That's the way he told me. So he go out. I say, where? You gonna go to walk? I say, I'm going to walk around here, and I'll be right back. I say, okay.
According to both Niannual and Janub, Ngor hadn't been gone for more than what seemed like a matter of minutes before law enforcement paid them a visit.
Also show up and knock the door.
Okay.
I was surprised.
And show me the picture. The police asked me, this is all your kids in here or you have another child? I say, no. The picture you just showed me is my son.
Yes.
Where your son at? I say, he went out. He told me to go to walk around.
Oh, yeah. I recognize this kid. That's my kid.
You recognize Ngor?
Yeah, I recognize him. And that was surprising. I said, then what's going on? He said, no, we want to talk to him first.
You didn't know he came back?
No, we don't know he came back. We thought he was still in a walk.
I don't know what happened. That's the thing.
Okay.
After I run up there, I see him door is open.
You went up to his coat?
Yeah, I did go there. I see him, he's sleeping. So I run out again. I didn't put the clothes on. I told the police, I got him up there, he's sleeping. He tried to wake him up. He don't know what he's saying. When I only know I'm asleep or I'm alive.
It's then that Niannual makes a shocking discovery.
I grab the sweater. I see the blood in here. I say, Ngor, what is this?
The gray hoodie that he's wearing?
Gray sweater.
Okay.
I see the blood. I say, what is this, Ngor? I say, what? Nothing, Mom. I say, no. Tell the police the truth. Are you involved for fighting? He don't want to look like he's tired. Until the police give him the time to find the shirt, find the where he wearing, you know.
Okay.
So I don't know exactly what happened outside.
Right. Okay.
That's why I'm here, because I need to know.
Yeah, we're trying to know too, so that's why we're
what's
talking.
Going on exactly.
Yeah.
The thing is, what happened, I shouldn't have drank the man. I shouldn't have drank the vodka. I wouldn't know what happened.
It appears that Ngor remembers having a drink, although it's a different type of alcohol than what his mom described. The fact that he remembers this detail may make it more difficult for detectives to believe that he doesn't remember anything else that happened. In addition, Ngor's mother makes a strange observation.
So when I pick up the blanket, it's real wet.
Okay. What, like sweat or what, like
Sweater.
Like,
It's
okay,
sweater,
like he was sweating?
water.
Or that he took a shower or something? You know,
Yeah.
he took a shower?
Did he take a shower?
No, I don't have no idea.
Unfortunately, Ngor's mother will soon find that what happened is much worse than she could have ever imagined.
I'm not even a wicked person. I won't do nothing crazy or savage. No, that's not me.
As detectives attempt to make sense of the baffling situation, they inquire about Ngor's finances. Perhaps this is where the motive lies. Maybe the whole thing was a burglary gone horribly wrong.
If he doesn't have a job and when you don't give him an allowance, what does he do for money? Does he ever have money?
We've never seen money from him.
Okay.
If he have money, he might be kept him somewhere.
You provide his clothes, everything
Yeah,
he
we
wears.
buy him the shoes, buy him the clothes. We never give him the cash.
Obviously, Ngor was living off of his parents, and apparently he felt that high school wasn't for him. We don't know yet if Ngor has severe mental illness, but if he does, it wouldn't be surprising that he'd want to drop out of school. Teenagers with severe mental health issues often struggle to develop peer relationships and are often isolated from others in school. They may also struggle academically, as their symptoms can make it difficult for them to sustain attention and complete assignments.
We tried to talk, and then he told me I'm 18 years old anyway. Even I want to drop high school, you can't force me. I say, okay, find a job. He did find a job in McDonald's. He worked like 2 weeks. He quit the job at the end.
That's frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's typically difficult for individuals with severe mental illness to maintain employment. For teens with serious behavioral problems, they can also face difficulties with maintaining employment. They often struggle to get along with coworkers and supervisors, depending on the nature of their symptoms. For instance, with psychosis, they may be suspicious of others or become angry easily if they're reprimanded or given orders, making conflict with coworkers, supervisors, and the general public a pretty common occurrence. For teens with behavioral problems, they often bump heads with authority figures because they don't like being ordered around or told what to do. In addition to school, work wasn't for Ngor either.
He doesn't have any money. He doesn't have a way to make money, right? You provide what he needs, but he has, no money,
The detective changes the focus of the conversation to an important subject, and as you'll see, the answer only makes things look worse for Ngor.
Off of 46th Street, right by where you live, there's a private kennel place where people take their dogs or whatever when they're on vacation or whatever to take care of them. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where all of these cars were tonight.
They have a dog daycare.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
And any reason Ngor would go over there?
I don't see any reason Ngor can go there because we don't have a dog.
Right.
We don't have a cat neither.
Right.
Yeah.
Things aren't looking good for Ngor, seeing as his parents have positively identified him in the photos provided by police, and further at a place he has no business being. But there are still so many important questions. Among them, those concerning the makeshift weapon used to beat Andy and Harriet, and of course, the true motive behind the brutal attack.
Are there any kind of weapons in your house? Do you have
No,
any
we don't have
guns for home protection? Or
No, we don't.
does Ngor have any even knives? Do you collect anything or anything like that?
I never seen that.
Okay. Ngor doesn't have any weapons that you know of or anything?
Ngor?
Ngor. Okay.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
Does he ever carry any sticks or clubs?
I never see it. Maybe he have it and hiding.
Okay.
Were you surprised to see blood, or what looks like blood, on his clothes?
He say it's not a blood, but I see it like it's blood.
When you see blood on Ngor's clothes, does that surprise you?
Yes, because I don't know what to say. I went a lot through bad stuff when I was in Africa.
Sure.
And I don't like to see the blood.
I understand.
See, the thing is, that's the crazy part. I'm telling myself, I don't know what happened. If it was a fight, a killing, a robbery. See, I don't know what happened.
It seems that Ngor's parents have been forthcoming, and it appears that they are as confused about the situation as law enforcement is. As they conclude Nyanyo's interview, she has a question for them.
What's exactly going on?
Well, maybe talk to you about it after we speak to Nor. Okay?
He on here now?
Yeah, he's here.
He's here?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to talk to him?
We're going to talk to him.
Come back to me again?
We can talk to you maybe a little bit after we talk to Nor. Yeah.
It's been approximately 2 hours since his arrest. One of the detectives enters Ngor's room.
Hey, let me take the handcuffs off you. Thank you. Yeah. Those darn things on you. Just sit tight. Do you need a drink of water or anything? You doing okay?
I would like some water, please.
Okay. We'll work on that in a minute, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. That's got to be a little more comfortable. Just get those things off, huh? You all right? You okay?
Yeah, just thinking.
Kind of thinking? Okay. All right, man.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. All right. I'll get you a glass of water here in a couple minutes, okay?
All right.
Appreciate the chat with you, okay?
Appreciate it.
Given all the nonsense rambling that we've heard from Ngor, it's surprising to see that he speaks clearly and politely. Maybe Ngor knows he's being recorded and is simply putting on a show for the camera. Or it's possible that the total silence of the interrogation room makes him nervous or uncomfortable. So he's filling the space by talking non-stop to himself. Taking off handcuffs and getting the suspect water is the first step in creating a sense of reliance on officers for the basic necessities. It also starts to establish the rapport-building phase of the interrogation. Ngor continues to speculate as to why he's seated in this room, as if he doesn't already know.
I don't know. Okay, I really don't know for a murder, but I'm assuming that's what it's for, because that's what interrogations are usually for.
Detectives are ready to speak with Ngor, given all the background they've gathered from his parents and the cops' crew. Little do they know, they're about to engage in an interview with an individual like no other they've encountered before. One who's been speaking to himself nearly non-stop since he took a seat in his interrogation room.
This is the craziest experience I've had. No, that's not the craziest experience I've had in my life. One of the craziest was when growing up in North Omaha, back when I seen 2 people get shot down. That was one of the craziest experiences. Just seeing 2 people getting killed on my eyes. That's the crazy experience. But it's life, man. Like I always tell myself, it's life. You just gotta move on. Everything's gonna be alright, man. You don't need to do nothing, so what is there to worry about? Everything's gonna be alright. But I can understand why I'm angry. I mean, it's bullcrap. It's the waste. I'm sitting here for I don't even know what's going on. That's the crazy part.
Finally, both detectives enter.
Hi, Nor.
Yeah, how you doing, man?
All right. My name is Lorna Garcia. All right. Lorna. Yep. Kind of different.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I think you've met Detective Tim Peake, right?
Tim Peake?
Yep.
We met briefly.
And you're how old?
I'm 18.
What's your birthday?
May 25th, 1996.
It should be noted that Ngor claims to have been born in 1996, contrary to his stepfather's previous statement.
Whose birthday?
Yes, it's May 25th, 95.
Either way, however, Ngor is of legal age. In the eyes of the justice system, he is considered an adult. Regardless of the discrepancy, detectives continue to gather basic information and attempt to build some rapport.
Do you work or anything or go to school or anything?
I take GED classes.
Okay. All right.
Where do you think those at?
It's online.
Cool.
Asking non-threatening questions allows the detectives to see how the suspect engages with them, how they answer questions, and what their body language is like. They can then compare this baseline behavior with how the suspect acts once questions about the crime begin. They will be looking for deviations in behavior, such as if the suspect all of a sudden starts using multiple adapter behaviors, which indicate the suspect is stressed by a particular question. Although some dismiss nonverbal analysis as pseudoscience, and whether or not the viewer agrees with it, it is used by the FBI, CIA, and police during interrogations, which is why we include it. When the CIA is interrogating an individual, they look for clusters of 3 or more indicators that occur in either quick succession or all at once. These indicators can be signs of discomfort or uncertainty in what the individual is stating, rather than indicators of deception. It's extremely important to note that you cannot detect deception through nonverbal analysis alone. As well, nonverbal analysis is not admissible in court, nor is it meant to be admissible in court, and it is instead an investigative tactic police use to question suspects.
Just a procedure, we do have to read you these rights, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
The detective reads Nora's rights, and he acknowledges that he understands each one. At this point, the interview becomes a custodial interrogation, and the detectives begin attempting to untangle the gruesome web to uncover why the Andersons were brutally attacked just hours earlier.
Well, obviously, we're here for a reason, Nor. Some things have happened tonight, and there's some questions we want to ask you because there's a lot of questions like why. Those are the things that you can maybe fill in for us. Okay. We've talked to, obviously your parents are here. We've talked to them and such, and some other people at this point. So we kind of have an idea of really what happened. Okay. I'm sure there's some things rolling through your head right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's been kind of an atypical night. It sounds obviously, and
right.
Can you kind of tell me what your day was like? Can you run through your day for me?
Well, my day was a typical day.
Detectives want Nor to think they know more than they actually do. Nor may be more likely to give out additional information if he thinks the police already know everything. Nor explains that he went to practice backflips at a nearby park.
I drank a little bit of liquor with myself, basically, because I was going to tell my mom, but my mom she didn't drink with me, but it was little, that's why I was thinking of that. But it wasn't enough to intoxicate me.
Stating that it wasn't enough to intoxicate him would negate any sort of possible diminished capacity defense to the crime. However, voluntary alcohol intoxication isn't enough to raise the defense regardless.
It was like around 4, but it was before I went to go do the flips. What I do is I do backflips.
Okay.
Backflips, front flips. What my goal was just trying to perfect like various different type of flips.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was going to record myself, upload it online, trying to gain as much views and followers as I can.
It seems like Nor is trying to sound innocent and casual by going into a little too much detail about his backflips. This could be his attempt to distract from the focus of the interrogation. It could also be his attempt to make it clear to the detectives that most of his time is spent focused on practicing his backflips, implying that he's not into anything else, nor into any sort of trouble.
So when I drank a little bit, I went to go flip.
What'd you drink? What kind of liquor?
Captain Morgan.
Morgan.
So when I came back, I went to sleep. And so, I didn't wake up, but I got woke up. And then all these cops and everything, I was like, what's going on? And then my mind started running out. Everything, I'm like, whoa. So it didn't really give me a chance to, not when you wake up, but you get woke up, it's a bunch of police officers waking you up. Your mind would be running like, what's going on? So that's really it. That's my general day.
Okay.
Nora's voice changes pitch when he says it. This could potentially be a sign of his anxiety coming out. When a person is excited, nervous, or anxious, they may raise the pitch of their voice. This is a natural response to these emotions, and it can be difficult to control. Nor states that he woke up that morning around 11 and had gone to sleep at 2 a.m.
Okay, you go to bed late usually?
Yeah, I watch videos on my phone.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm a conspiracy theorist.
You're a conspiracy theorist?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I like to read about conspiracy theories and study them.
Okay. What'd you do from 11 on?
Stay home like usual.
Okay, usually home every day? Okay, that must get pretty boring.
Well, I don't really do anything because how I see it is, because my goal is GD.
Okay.
How I see it is if you really want something, you're going to put everything aside and get it.
Okay.
If you really want it, you'll get it. If you don't, you'll come up with excuses. So
There's definitely a discrepancy between Nor's story and what his parents said. They never mentioned him trying to get his GED, but he has talked about it in depth during his interview. There's no apparent reason for his mom or stepdad to withhold information that puts their son in a positive light, but there would be motivation for Ngor to lie about or embellish his life goals. It's possible that he's trying to make himself look better to police by talking about how he's working hard to get his GED. We've established that Ngor's days consist of studying and practicing his flips, and occasionally underage drinking.
When I get did you sneak it, or did your mom know about it?
My mom knew about it.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, I'm 18, so...
That's not old enough to drink.
18? Well, I thought it was 21 you have to buy, 18 you could drink.
No.
No?
No.
Ngor may have mentioned this detail about how he was drinking in order to make himself appear like he's being honest with the detective. Sometimes suspects will admit to a less serious wrongdoing in order to demonstrate that this is the worst possible action they're capable of, almost like implying that they would never be capable of doing anything worse.
You decided to go out and do flips, right? What time was that?
I would say I would say the early 5s.
Ngor explains that he practiced his flips at a park located close to his home.
What part of the park were you at?
Basketball court.
Okay. How long were you out there?
I would say about 30 minutes.
This is interesting because Ngor's parents assumed he was only gone for about 5 minutes. Luckily, Ngor elaborates further for us.
See, the thing is, I'm not really accurate about... Okay, everything else I'm accurate about, but the time frame, not really, because as I went to sleep, I got woke up by all these police officers and my mind started running. Plus, I suffer short-term memory and all this.
Like, what do you mean, suffer short-term memory? What do you mean by that?
Well, it's not really doctor acknowledged, but it's something I noticed myself. It's more like I forget shorter stuff, but longer stuff I'll remember.
Okay.
Ngor arrives at the alibi he was rehearsing earlier in the footage, short-term memory loss. He provides an unconvincing explanation about his short-term memory deficits versus his alleged ability to retain memories from his remote past. Things like encoding, rehearsal, and the importance of the information are factors that tend to make things stored in long-term memory stand the test of time. Short-term memories, on the other hand, are believed to be forgotten because the brain has a limited capacity to store so much information. Whenever we come across new information, our brains store it in short-term memory, but it's only there for a brief period of time. If we don't use this information in some way or rehearse it, chances are it will be forgotten. Sometimes short-term memories can be transferred to the more reliable long-term memory system if it has some type of emotional meaning. Still, Ngor's claim that his short-term memory is poor could be a red flag for deception, as Ngor may be setting the stage to fall back on "I don't remember" type of excuses from here on out. He may think that he can't be punished or blamed for something he doesn't remember doing.
And then, what'd you do when you got home? Did you just talk to anybody?
No, not really.
And then what'd you do when you got home?
Took out my shoes and went straight to sleep.
Did you shower or anything?
I was planning that later on.
This statement seems to confirm that what Ngor's mother witnessed on him was, in fact, sweat. Interestingly so, Detective Peak, who's seated a bit out of view, also noted Ngor's profuse sweating when he arrived at the residence and observed Ngor in his bedroom, according to a narrative he would compose later.
Do you usually sleep that time of night? Pretty early.
No, I don't usually sleep at that time. I went to sleep that time because of all those flips. All those flips and cartwheels and stuff. So that's what got me exhausted.
There appears to be an inconsistency in Ngor's story, as he has claimed that he often practices his flips, yet he rarely goes to sleep this early. Inconsistent statements can be a possible sign of deception. When someone is telling lies, it can be difficult for them to keep track of everything they've said, especially when they're having to make up additional lies on the spot to support their original story. Ngor would like detectives to believe his claims, but considering what they already know, it's likely that his exhaustion wasn't due to simple flip practice, but rather something much more violent.
Did you sleep in the clothes you're wearing, or did you put pajamas on, or what'd you do?
Ngor hesitates a bit before he answers. Anytime he's asked to provide details that could identify him as the person who committed the crime, he does a lot of umming and thinking. Ngor likely knows that giving details right now is not in his favor. His short-term memory problem is a good excuse to fall back on, though. Or so he believes.
What I did was I took off my shirt, my pants, and just left in my boxers or underwear.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's what I did.
Ngor confirms that he'd been wearing a red t-shirt and a pair of basketball-style shorts. However, unsurprisingly, he denies wearing a gray sweatshirt. This is significant because the suspect caught on camera while stationed at the entrance of the Anderson home was clearly wearing a gray sweatshirt.
No, I didn't wear it. I remember that.
Okay.
I didn't wear it.
For the first time so far, the detective directly confronts Ngor on this particular issue.
What would you say if we had a picture of you in a hoodie?
If it's in my apartment complex, I wouldn't doubt it.
While it may appear that the detectives are just gathering information, there's a strategic method to their madness. The bait question that was just asked of Ngor implies that they may have evidence that is contrary to what Ngor has told them. When someone is telling the truth, they're more likely to reject a bait question and give a firm denial as they know the facts are on their side. However, someone who's being deceptive may answer vaguely, as Ngor did. Detectives begin to steer the conversation toward the Anderson home.
On your walk, you might have noticed there's a kennel or a place people drop off their pets.
A kennel.
I hear the dogs barking.
Yeah, definitely.
You know
I always hear them.
It's like kind of sits back a little
Okay,
way.
I know what you mean.
know what I'm talking
it's
about.
It's like a really...
Across the street, on the other side of the street from where your complex sits.
Okay, I know what you mean, because when I when I walk to like the gas station, I hear at that house a lot of dogs barking. Okay, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Then an important question, one that will clearly gauge if Ngor is at all credible.
Have you ever been there?
No, I haven't.
You know, a pet, right? No dog?
No dog.
Okay.
Ngor is very quick to answer these questions, and he continues to dig himself a deeper hole.
Have you ever talked to anybody there or know anybody that lives there?
No, I don't know anyone or talk to anyone, but I see cars sometimes go and leave and exit.
Yeah. You've never been over there or on the property at all or knocked on the door or anything?
No, man.
Okay. And then you went to bed because you were so tired from doing backflips, is that right? And then that's when you got woken up by your mom. She saw something on your hoodie. Do you remember her talking to you about that?
She saw something on my hoodie.
It was red. She thought it was blood or something.
Ngor touching his neck may be an adapter behavior to reduce stress. Covering the mouth, as Ngor has, is often seen as a possible indicator for deception, as the person may be trying to hide their lie. People may cover their mouth as a subconscious attempt to conceal their words or facial expressions while lying. It's important to remember that this behavior is not always a definitive sign of deceit and should be taken in context with other behaviors. In this instance, Ngor is showing his anxiety by also utilizing self-soothing behaviors, such as rubbing his neck and his long pause prior to answering.
Until I grab the sweater, I see the blood in here. I say, Mom, what is this?
The gray hoodie that he's wearing?
Gray sweater.
Okay.
I see the blood. I say, what is this, Mom? I say, what? Nothing, Mom.
I don't remember that, but if you would explain to me some more, then I'll probably...
She found your sweatshirt that she had seen you wearing, and she thought it was blood on there, and she's asked, what happened.
Like real blood? Or like a lot?
It looked like it. I don't know. I don't know how much.
Blood.
Where'd that come from?
Ngor gives no explanation and continues to plead ignorance, but detectives have grown tired of beating around the bush.
Okay, obviously something bad happened. That's usually when we get involved, right?
Well, yeah, I know that with common sense.
Okay, right. So something bad happened tonight, obviously.
Yeah, well,
okay.
I know that for sure.
We have reason to believe that you have some knowledge about what happened tonight, okay? And with that, we want to hear what happened. And you've left out a big part of it. Something happened over there tonight, and I want you to tell me about it.
See, the thing is, what's so crazy is I never associated with that kennel.
Despite the discrepancy relating to time, where Ngor and his family believe he left the home around 5 that evening, the detective lets Ngor in on some information that's going to be very difficult to dispute.
We have video of you at the kennel there tonight, the house there by the kennel.
Of me?
Yes. Wearing the clothing you just exactly described to me.
If you said that, I would say, can I see the video?
Got a picture.
Picture?
Off the video. I don't have the video itself. I've seen it, but it's on the video camera right now.
Detectives utilize the confrontation phase of the Reed technique here. Ngor is confronted with evidence that places him at the scene of the crime. From this point, his vague denials will be minimized. It's common for suspects to want to see the evidence. Sometimes officers will share it, and other times they cannot or will not.
Okay, we have a picture of you. You're right there by the door. Okay? And your mom even said, yeah, that's Ngor. Your stepdad said, yeah, that's Ngor. Okay? They have no reason to lie about it. They know you. They're
honest
here.
people. They're honest people.
I'm not here to be the bad guy. I'm here to listen. And I just want to understand what happened. Something went terribly wrong tonight. I don't think it was your intention to have what happened happen, but it did.
Do you think you guys could describe to me, like, what happened or anything?
That's what we want to hear from you.
Ngor doesn't seem at all fazed by the direct line of questioning, so the detectives try a different tactic.
This is your opportunity to be truthful and honest, okay? Think about something. We don't sit down here and talk to you until we've talked to other people. Okay? We wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, and Lorna wouldn't mention a video or pictures if we didn't already have that information. And that's facts, okay? Those are facts. You know what assumptions are, right?
I know what assumptions are.
Assumptions are something you think maybe have happened, but you got to put that piece together to make it a fact, right? The fact is, okay, we know where you're at. We know what takes place, okay? Your opportunity here is to explain why. What happened and why. Okay, you know exactly what happened because you were there. All right? That's a fact. Hear me out. It's an odd thing that when all those people you see coming in as you're standing out there getting ready to leave the front door area, you ever seen the TV show Cops? Yeah? Guess who was there tonight?
Cops.
Yeah. Imagine that. So you know what happened tonight, okay? You know where you're at. You know what went on. This is your opportunity to be truthful and honest. You're dancing around it. There's a couple different types of people in life, okay? There's people that are just cold-blooded, ruthless people that will do horrible things, and they don't care.
That's killers.
Yeah. And then there are people that simply make a mistake, that didn't mean to do things that they do. I don't believe you're that ruthless, cold-blooded person. I think you're a pretty honest guy that tries to do the right thing, but tonight something happened and made a poor decision, and things got out of hand.
Detectives utilize multiple parts of the Reed technique here, including providing alternatives to Ngor, developing a theme, and minimizing his denials. But based on Ngor's response, it's clear that the attempt to appeal to his character is unsuccessful.
You're
not going to...
I don't think...
You can't talk your way out of this, Ngor. You can't. That's all there is to it. We want the truth. That's all we ask for. We don't lie to you. We never will.
I know.
So don't lie to us. So what happened when you went over there tonight, Ngor?
I didn't go there. I'm trying to retrace,
Ngor,
my
you're
memory.
not. No, you're not trying to retrace your memory. You're trying to come up with a reason to dance around this story again. That's you, buddy, right there. Why'd you go over there tonight, Ngor? Okay?
That's me.
That's you.
Once again, Ngor is covering his mouth while speaking. This behavior is often an indication that someone is being deceptive, as they're trying to physically cover up the lies coming out of their mouth. Even when faced with a photograph that clearly shows him stationed at the front entry to the Anderson home, Ngor continues to deny that he was there.
How can I confirm or verify something happened if you guys won't even tell me what that thing is?
We don't have to tell you because you were there and you lived it, you experienced it.
But Ngor doesn't budge one bit. He continues to deny involvement, and they continue to go in circles. Eventually, Detective Peak changes his tone. Although it's a common interrogation tactic, it's likely that he's genuinely losing his patience. After all, they've been seated before Ngor for over an hour at this point, and despite having presented Ngor with explicit photos that show him at the crime scene, he continues to deny what detectives know to be facts.
Can you seriously say that you were not there after what we've already been talking about? I mean, really? Really?
Yeah, me?
Can you honestly and tell
Listen to yourself.
me or anybody else? That wasn't me. I don't know who that is.
Then the detective throws out the idea that burglary might have been Ngor's motive.
Did you take anything from the jewelry box? Am I going to find jewelry at your house? Am I going to find jewelry somewhere between your house and the apartment that I'm going to have your fingerprints on? And because that's going to come back. The blood that's on your sweatshirt, it's going to come back. The bottom line is, overwhelmingly, you're there. You've got blood on your clothes. You're there. That's all there is to it.
They're making no ground. They haven't yet been able to advance from where they began. They changed the focus of the questioning to the mysterious murder weapon. At this time, the specific item used to inflict the devastating injuries to Harriet and Andy is still unknown to law enforcement. And as you'll see, only a warped individual would think to use such a thing to inflict harm on another.
Did you take a weapon with you when you went to the house, or did you find it in the house?
A weapon?
Yeah, whatever you hit this old couple with.
It's more of the same denials, but it won't be long before the horrible truth is exposed. After a short break, the detective returns to the interrogation room, armed with another common tactic, a last-ditch effort to, hopefully, elicit the truth from Ngor. Of course, what she has to say hasn't really been confirmed just yet.
You know, I mentioned the sweatshirt that she had. It had blood on it, visible blood that your mom saw. We had it field tested. We have this ability of this lab to come out and do some testing on it. We've been able to determine that it comes back to the woman in that house we've been talking about by the kennel. The blood belongs to her.
The truth is, I really don't know.
So you're going to leave that? That's going to be your story? That's what you're going to go down with? Is that story?
That's all I remember, so I got no choice.
I don't believe you. How could you not remember? That's the biggest lie. Come on, Ngor.
If you don't believe me, what am I supposed to do?
Who would believe that? Who would believe that? I would be an idiot to believe that.
What else say you guys? Guess you guys got to go based off the facts and assumptions.
Well, it's pretty good facts, isn't it? Really good facts, actually. We don't usually get this lucky. If you're not going to tell me anything different, that's on you. All right, it's 0212.
The detective exits the room after concluding the interview, and Ngor picks his monologue back up right where he left off.
Man, these people are crazy, man. They trying to make me seem like a cold-blooded killer. The truth will prevail, so the truth always comes out.
Well, Ngor's last statement will prove correct, just not in the way he envisions. After a few moments, a member of CSI enters the room and collects a buccal swab, fingernail clippings, and photographs. Ngor is given a jumpsuit to change into.
Hey, Ngor, I spoke to the powers that be, talked to the county attorney and such, okay? I'm going to let you know what's going on here with you. Obviously, like I said, we are here for something that happened that went pretty bad tonight. And you know exactly what happened. But anyway, you're going to be charged with murder in the first degree and attempted murder a second count. Do you have any questions for me?
Murder?
Yeah. Yeah. You killed a man tonight, so that's what happened. We're going to be waiting for transport to the jail, okay?
How long do you think they'll take?
Less than an hour, I guess, my best.
Probably. Why? They're hurried?
You know where I go.
Yeah.
That'll take as long as it takes, then.
Now that Ngor is dressed in a jumpsuit and has been informed of the charges against him, he stops rambling to himself. He may just be tired from being in the interrogation room for hours, but it's also possible that he has finally realized that his attempts to claim that he's innocent to the detectives and to himself are futile at this point. For the record, it took about an hour for transport to arrive. As the detective mentioned, this case wasn't standard. They had a wealth of evidence to work with, and the developments that came with the passing days, weeks, and months only further incriminated Ngor. A search warrant for Ngor's home was obtained shortly after the conclusion of his interview. The clothing he'd been wearing the previous night, as seen on dash cam and cops' video footage, was seized, and it was clear that each item showed the presence of blood. Between Ngor's mattress and box springs, the police found a serrated knife, but it wasn't recovered at the time as it appeared clean and showed no signs of blood. In addition, law enforcement was under the impression that the weapon that had been used was a metal club or pipe. Around this time, law enforcement received the details of Andy's autopsy, and the findings were shocking. It was determined the instrument used to inflict the wounds he'd suffered was likely not a club, but rather a metal object with a sharp edge. Immediately, the detective recalled the knife that had been located in Ngor's bedroom. They traveled to the home and met with Ngor's parents. They provided consent, and detectives collected the knife. Then, in a strange turn of events, just moments after detectives had departed Ngor's residence, another call came in from the detective who'd provided details about the autopsy. He had some critical information to share, but this time, it was a development concerning Ngor. Apparently, he'd been reviewing dashcam footage that showed Ngor leaving the crime scene, and there, tucked into Ngor's waistband, was a long silver object. As it turns out, one of the detectives had made a mental note of another item while at Ngor's home. It was a metal spatula, of all things. The handle was missing, and it had been placed on top of a freezer at the residence. Initially, there was no reason to believe this item was of any significance. However, armed with the new information, the detectives immediately returned to Ngor's residence and collected the spatula. Upon closer inspection, what appeared to be smeared blood was visible on multiple parts of the spatula. In addition, the detective recalled having seen two small broken pieces of wood in the middle of the Anderson living room floor, where the crime had occurred the previous evening. Coincidentally, the pieces had been collected as evidence during the processing of the scene. The horrifying revelation came with the confirmation. The broken wood pieces had once formed a handle to the metal spatula. It had, in fact, been used to kill Andy and assault Harriet. It was as expected when testing of blood on Ngor's clothing and the spatula was confirmed to match Harriet's DNA profile. Not anticipated, however, were the accounts of two jailhouse informants who'd spent considerable time with Ngor after his arrest. It seems Ngor had made such an impression on them that each came forward of his own volition. It was March of the following year, 2015, when Detective Peake agreed to meet with an inmate at the Polk County Jail at the request of the county attorney's office. The inmate informed the detective that Ngor was planning on claiming a defense of insanity at his upcoming trial. There seems to be a common misconception that claiming a defense of insanity will somehow be preferable for an offender. Ngor may have naively believed that he would serve less time if he claimed he was insane when he attacked the Andersons. Maybe Ngor was trying to act crazy in the interrogation room when he was having full-on conversations with himself. A couple of months later, the county attorney's office reached out to Detective Garcia and asked if she'd speak with yet another inmate who'd contacted their office due to concerns about Ngor. This inmate explained that he'd found some of Ngor's behaviors quite alarming during the 2-month period they'd been bunkmates. The inmate explained that Ngor would often laugh to himself, and when the inmate would inquire as to what he was laughing about, it was in relation to his case and how he liked or enjoyed killing the elderly man. The act, however, would prove fruitless for Ngor. Ironically, this type of comment may simply have made Ngor appear like someone with antisocial personality disorder, since claiming to have enjoyed the murder is more so indicative of a lack of empathy and a poor moral conscience, and not necessarily insanity. But clearly Ngor didn't know what he was doing, nor was he informed about what the defense of insanity means or what it entails. He was likely desperate to avoid the consequences that he saw coming, and when people are desperate, They can act carelessly and end up making matters worse for themselves. By the time the trial finally rolled around in November of 2015, Harriet had also passed away. Ngor waived his right to a jury trial and instead left his fate to a Polk County judge. The prosecution proposed that Ngor invaded the Anderson home with the intention of stealing from the pair, evidenced by a jewelry box that had apparently been rifled through. A psychologist and witness for the defense testified that Ngor was suffering from schizophrenia at the time of the attack. The prosecution's witness, however, had a very different opinion. The psychiatrist explained how Ngor had told him of a green man with 4 arms who would sometimes enter and control Ngor's body. The occasion where he viciously attacked the Andersons happened to be one of those very times. Of course, the psychiatrist didn't support the claim, which he cited as scientifically preposterous. Ngor's insanity defense didn't come close to cutting it. The judge found him guilty of first-degree murder, in addition to other counts. In early January of 2016, Ngor was sentenced to life in prison plus 2 years, and was also ordered to pay $150,000 in restitution. However, a true motive was never established with certainty, and it remains a mystery to this day. We reached out to Ngor for a comment on his case, and in the hopes of solving this mystery, and he replied with a letter from prison. He wrote that he is currently on communication restrictions, which indicates that he's continuing to act irresponsibly, even while behind bars. He was able to send us a letter, though, despite his restrictions, through another inmate. This may be an indication that he enjoys breaking the rules and attempting to outsmart the prison guards. It's possible that he manipulated the other inmate, who could potentially get in trouble for helping Ngor send this letter. Ngor went on to claim, quote, that the criminal justice system falsely found me guilty, and that my lawyers were ineffectively representing me. Then he used the words financially crippled to describe his situation, likely as a manipulation tactic to attempt to gain sympathy. He then demanded that we financially assist him with $1,000 to ensure his correspondence, which we declined. Ngor finished his letter stating that I should be in a place receiving treatment, not in prison, serving life.